Hello, I'm Michelle.
And I'm Laura, and this is the Pair Entrepreneurs Club podcast, a weekly show to help you navigate the demands of being a working parent. We will share lots of practical ideas, hints and tips, and our own and others' experiences with juggling work, family, health and finances. Above all, we want to help you find your purpose, define your identity, and banish any confidence gremlins that might be holding you back from the life you dream of. No matter whether you have children or not, there will be something here for you. Let's get started. Hi Matt, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today. We met some time ago, and I was really inspired by your business journey. So for our listeners' purpose, Matt Knibbs is the CEO of Promethean Play and specialises in Lego in the workplace. And I'll let you talk a little bit more about what you do, Matt, please.
Thanks, Laura. So it seems like so long ago when when we spoke and had a conversation about it. But yeah, I started my business in October 21, and I started my career in retail operations and moved into HR. Really passionate about engaging, connecting, and including every voice in the workplace. I get quite frustrated with the whole let's do an engagement survey and then nothing ever happens with it and what have you. So there's much better ways to really connect people to what's going on in the work. So I started my business in October 21, focusing on Lego and Lego Serious Play. And so it's a really cool methodology and intervention to work with individuals, teams in the workplace, to get them building their thoughts and feelings surrounding various different topics. And then over the years, since I started over the last year or so, I've really evolved how I sort of deploy the sort of Lego Serious Play, and so I focus more with organisations on broader people strategy and change. So really helping organisations think about unique ways and practices that are aligned to the organisation, that are performance led, cover the whole system, and it's all about open source change, which is about involving everyone, and that's where the Lego really comes to its own. So yeah, I suppose I'll stop there, but that's a bit about what I do and how I do it.
Absolutely, I love that, and I think I call myself a HR nerd, and by heart, I think you are as well.
Yeah.
So it's that foundation of having kind of the HR knowledge of it, but then building on that and having the Lego Serious Play. And from my perspective, when I first heard about this, I thought, wow, I love Lego. My son's 7, he loves Lego, and it's that universal kind of toy that everybody can connect with.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, from your perspective of introducing that into workplaces, what do you see people, how do they engage with that? Does it, give a new dynamic to team building?
Yeah, really, it's really interesting. You can probably see I'm a Lego fan as well, but it's a really interesting tool to use, and I think one of the things that I see an awful lot is that pile of Lego in the middle of a room, or it's a toy we're just going to play. And one of the things I talk about, it's not a fun day out, so it's not a team build activity. It's not a it's what I use to really connect people with the work that's going on. And this is, I'm quite passionate about deploying team building events, because often they're not connected to the work. So everyone goes off, maybe goes, climbs a mountain and camps out overnight, have a few beers, and then they get back to work and nothing changes. And I think it's, how do you have some fun, create a level of safety and psychological safety, and really get some action on the back of it that will impact and create value back in the workplace. The other thing, which I am an HR nerd, I started in a very generalist HR role. But one of the things that I see an awful lot with HR, and sometimes it's perpetuated by some of the content that gets thrown out there, is there's an awful lot of thirst for best practice. Whereas what the Lego series play as an intervention, and you know there are many other interventions you can use, but it allows teams, individuals to really build what they think will drive the greatest value to the organization. It's about building unique practice and baking that into stuff that that are going to sort of propel the organization forward. And that's you know, where I have so much fun with teams. And I suppose looping back to one of the things you asked there, Laura, just around how do people react when it's really interesting. Some people walk into the room and just roll their eyes and go, "Oh my goodness, what's this?" There are lots of cynics and sort of think, "What is the point?" But I have not had a session where everyone has walked out and just gone, "Wow!" They've learned so much about each other. I've had CEOs say, in the space of 2 hours, they've learned more about their team than they have, you know, over you know the full length of time. I've had team members sort of say right from the outset that, you know, I can't say anything because managers are in the room, and then by the end of the session, you know, well, boy, they're saying some stuff, you know, and being really honest, because it creates that that safe space, and because people are talking through a model, they can say a lot more, you know, and so some of the stuff that I see, some of the builds that people create are phenomenal. I've got a couple of stories, if you'd sort of humour me. A couple of
Yeah,
stories that spring to
absolutely.
mind. I ran a session with a senior leadership team, group of directors, and you know, the Lego Series Play approach, the methodology, you sort of ask the group a question or statement. They then build their thoughts and feelings, and then each individual gets to share their thoughts, share their model with the group. So they talk to the model with the group about how it represents the question that was stated, and then we sum up and we, you know, look for some themes as a plenary group. And so that's the sort of cycle of builds. What we can also do is build individually, but then share builds. So where people share their ideas to create a common narrative, a collective narrative. And this group of directors, with a shared build, you can touch. One of the little rules is you can touch other people's Lego if you're talking, but only if you're talking. And I've had directors almost fighting over people touching their Lego. But what was great about that, it opens up another discussion, and
Yeah.
actually the conversation sort of sent us in a different direction, but we started talking about some real things happening in the workplace, where this particular director hoards resource, where this particular director doesn't release people to help with the team. So it creates this level of discussion that that doesn't necessarily surface in other ways in traditional meetings.
Yeah.
Another story, you know, I had a couple of engineers in a digital company. They worked remotely, but they didn't work. They were never put together. It was so much tension, but it was just not talked about. And they were plonked in a room with some Lego bricks in the middle of a table, and some conversation surfaced where this one individual said to the other individual that you undermine me in front of other people, and that was the root cause of their conflict. And they just had a great discussion. And, you know, will they be best friends? No, but the other person just didn't realize that they were undermining that one individual, and so it just allowed this conflict to rise up, and then can be addressed and dealt with. Um, I've used it in retail organizations, and particularly giving feedback, you know, and direct reports, building feedback for their line manager, and then talking it through. And wow, the richness and the things that get said. Probably the most certainly the feedback from the line managers. It was the most comprehensive feedback that ever received, just through a Lego model.
I
Um,
love that.
And then I suppose the final story, which I don't generally work with children, but I helped a charity. They had a group of young children who were sort of supporting the charity to learn about how they can continuously improve and what have you, and what support they needed. And I think she was about 8 or 9, but she built this model that sort of talked about how the charity can help her grow as a person. And I mean, it's an 8 or 9 year old, and I just was amazed because she built this wall, and a chain attached to the wall, and she said she was one side of the wall, and this is the other side of the wall where she wanted to get to, and this was the angry side, and she didn't want to be angry anymore. And I was nearly in tears, and it's as you said, Lego. So many people can associate with Lego. The Lego system is so massive. I mean, 6 little Lego bricks can be combined in over 914 million ways, and you sort of think, you know, the immense amount of metaphor storytelling that people can create with it is just great.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, and I've got so many questions on that. But in terms of like that metaphor thing, I mean, that is, as coach or as a coach, from an NLP perspective, to get onto that deeper level of metaphors is so transformational for people.
Yeah,
And exactly as you said there, it's so emotive as well. So I think to be able to bring that out through play, I mean, that's fantastic.
yeah,
And I
definitely.
guess you see that, you saying about like the conflict and with leaders as well, they're subconsciously going into that
Yeah,
with the Lego.
absolutely, absolutely.
And one other thing I thought of when you were talking there is, from a HR perspective, being in corporate environments,
Mm.
what we tend to like is policies and procedures and rule books.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think, actually being able to have those genuine conversations, and particularly for smaller businesses, you know, managers find it very difficult to have conversations where there might be conflict and probably tend to avoid it.
yeah,
So it's that middle balance of actually for HR, I think there's something to learn as well. And this is, a big passion of mine, is that we need to move away from those policies and procedures,
yeah. Agreed.
and have genuine conversation.
Mm.
And that's what I love there in your example of actually bringing that out and saying, this is, you're actually being able to have that honest transaction.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the Lego Serious Play methodology isn't an answer to everything, and it only goes so far. But it definitely can be used as a real substantial basis for hearing from every voice in the organization at every level, and really connecting them. So even just that policy example, if an organization understands where it's going and what it wants to achieve, and the team members help decide on that future state, then that can feed into, okay, so what policies do we need to help that happen, and what do we not need? Because you see it all the time. Organizations who say they want to empower, they want to have creativity, curiosity. They want to be innovative. You'll see that plastered on walls as a key value. We will be innovative, but then they restrict the organization with rules, policies, procedures that just stop all that. And so the more organizations can encourage conversation, and give people that I suppose opportunity just to share how they feel. And we're not saying that every decision is made by committee, and we're not saying that everything that the CEO decides has got to go through a Lego type process or something, just so. But it is about creating the conditions where for the things that really matter, people can have a say and can influence. And also, one of the things that I'm really passionate about with Lego Serious Play sessions, it's not just a fun day out. I think I've said that before. It's there's action, has to be
Mm.
action involved. And one of the things, I ran a session very recently, actually, with a manufacturing firm, and it's amazing. The team, there are about 20, 30 people in the room, and the team have gone away, and they are forming sort of these teams to go and tackle some of the issues that they raise. So it's not about looking up, oh, the management team need to fix and solve everything. It's about empowering these people to come up with solutions, practical ways to solve issues in the workplace. And then one of the ways I help them do this is there's always got to be a sponsor attached. So there's always got to be a leader to guide, direct, because they see the broader picture, and make sure that the decisions being made are right. Because empowering people isn't necessarily giving away decision rights, but it's about really truly listening to what people have got to say. And that's why I'm such a big fan. There's so much psychology surrounding Lego.
Yeah.
One of the things that that it's on multiple government reports that we must encourage creativity, and yet Lego itself, most Lego sets have instructions. When I was young, it was a box of Lego, and you made your own house. And I think in the workplace, how can people be creative if we restrict them with rules, policies, procedures? How can and so we've got to look for ways to really change some of that in the workplace.
Yeah, that's really powerful as well, because that's exactly right. We set all these expectations and societal norms, and just actually having a box full of Lego, like you've got to be creative. So
Definitely.
And do you think as well that the skills and mindsets that's developed in Lego workshops, can actually benefit people not just in the workplace, but also think about their roles as parents?
100%.
Yeah.
One of the things I have used with my 10-year-old, so for several years, we do something called Lego Challenge, and he writes down on some bits of paper, and we stick them in a hat, just random words, and it could be an object, it could be a thought, a feeling, or whatever. And then we randomly pick out, and it's the same principle of Lego Serious Play. We randomly pick out a word, and then we have a short time, 3 minutes, to build our thoughts and feelings about the word that's presented, and then we share and discuss what it. I have learned more about my son during Lego Challenge sessions than it's just profound. Some of the stuff that comes up, particularly when we're talking about a feeling. So he'll stick a feeling, and we have to build the feeling. It's just unbelievable. But the other thing that Lego Serious Play does, it aids communication. So and you listen with your eyes as well as your ears. And there's there's a lot of neuroscience surrounding brain sync, and when you're truly listening, there's brain sync, but also perspective. Young people, their brains are developing, and they see things in very different ways. Emotionally, they're in very different places, and perspective is really key in the workplace, because it's amazing when you get a group of managers in a room with a group of non-managers, and they start to understand that actually managers have got quite a tough time as well, and so there's a lot of perspective sharing. It's exactly the same with parents and kids. I think, and I'm with my two, I've still got a lot to learn, but but I definitely think there's value to be had by doing something a bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, just in what you've done in building this business as well, I'm kind of looping back to the start a little bit here, but, when you created those series of videos, I remember seeing them because you shared them on LinkedIn, about how you'd actually gone from, the corporate world of being, in a senior position in HR to then setting up Promethean Play. You were very raw and honest in those videos, which I loved, because it told the real story.
Yeah.
And how have you kind of found that journey? Is it something that you've kind of grappled with from a parent perspective, or how has that given you what you kind of set out to achieve?
It's a great question, Laura, and I think I'm still grappling with it. So when I started the business, as I said, it was mainly one-off workshops, Lego Serious Play, half day, full day, and that was the initial intention. And positively, I was generating some business, and Was it going to make me rich? No. But was that what I wanted? No. My videos attested to it was about being able to walk the kids to school and pick them up and having freedom and not being under pressure to answer to someone else. And mind you, I could argue I've probably got the hardest boss now in terms of me, but but anyway. But then as I worked more with some clients, I realized that what the workshops were doing, they were surfacing issues that needed to be addressed, and the client wasn't able to necessarily solve them and really move forward. And so I felt, I suppose the analogy I used was almost how I was going into a pristine lake. You could see the bottom of the lake, and I was going in and stirring it all up, and all the silt was rising. Then I was going, bye, see you later. And so and that's why I've evolved to have a more broader project focus to support organizations. And so yes, Lego still features. Yes, we'll use it to determine some future state thinking and maybe uncover some surface issues, but some issues that at the surface aren't necessarily there, but when we go a bit deeper, we can really understand what causes some of that. So I started doing a bit more of that, and that then ate into some more time, and then I've also taken on some other associate work, which is great, man. I love, but that consumes time, and so bit by bit, the business is sort of is growing, which is nice. But I didn't set the business up to become, to earn lots of money. I set it up to have that balance with the family, and I'm losing that. So the school term has started a few weeks ago, and this morning was the first time that I'd been managed to actually walk them to school, which is disappointing. But I'm still very, very conscious and about being present when I am here. So it's definitely that balance. So I've still got a lot of thinking to do in that space around what I need to do and how I need to do it.
Yeah, and exactly, and thank you for that, Matt, because I know that that is a really honest, kind of presentation of it as well, and that's what a lot of us still grapple with, and I think it's a natural thing to feel that you're being pulled in different directions because of financial, worries, or whether that's guilt with children, whichever it might be.
Yeah,
and balancing that is something that's never easy.
And the other thing, Laura, which, if I may, just my career is always dominated as well, and my wife has always had to sort of step back to support. And I think there was another conscious thing in setting up the business where that needs to shift a bit, and my other half doesn't aspire to be the next finance director or whatever, but there's an element where we've practically had to look at income and make decisions, and like any family does, and I think there's if you're a partnership, you've got to help each other, and I think that's something that's bit by bit sliding again in favor of me and my work, and it's hard. Everyone's different, but I'm trying not to allow money to be the driver of where of our priorities as a family unit, and it's a hard one.
It is, and I think we talked about this on a previous podcast about goals and kind of realigning what we actually set the business out for. And Michelle and I said that September's kind of a good time because of the new academic year. It's almost like a refocus, and this is about saying actually what did I want to achieve? Because so often we look at what society and the people on LinkedIn or whatever it might be are doing. And we look for that external validation of, well, I'm not achieving that, so I should be achieving that. And it's just taking that away and going, no, actually, this is what I set out to do. I'm quite happy with it. So
definitely.
Perfect. So if there's listeners out there kind of wanting to incorporate a bit of Lego into their business or to do some Lego play, what would you kind of recommend, and what would be the first steps to get into that?
I think there's some really good books out there. So there's a guy in Australia who I quite like, called Michael Fern, and he he's written a book that sort of talks through the Lego Serious Play process. One of the things that I'm really keen to share though is you'll see a lot of certifications, and what have you. Pay us 10,000 and we'll certify you to be an official. Um, there's a danger with that, because actually you need to be a good facilitator. So it's not about the tool, and I think there's a conflict I have when I see a lot of that is it's okay to be trained in how to use a tool, but actually if you're not looking at broader facilitation skills, and then it can be quite dangerous. So I think because it's a responsibility to facilitate, and there's some ethical stuff surrounding facilitation that is important to note. So I think um so that would be one thing. But Michael Fern, definitely read, and also just grab a pile of Lego and just play. It's all open source. So although the Lego groups still sell the Lego bricks, because it's a combination of Duplo, Technic, and core Lego. It's an open source, so there's a wealth of material online just where you could get practicing, and just give it a go. Give it a go with friends, family, in your small team at work. Just put a pile of Lego in and say, "Come on, let's just build some ideas here." And it's amazing what will materialize.
Yeah, that's brilliant, and I think, yeah, exactly like you say, it's just give it a go, isn't it? Um,
Yeah.
you touched on there about kind of accreditation, and that's something that I actually got embroiled in a bit of a LinkedIn war on this because quite recently someone had commented that they'd had some negative comments about not having an accreditation in a certain field,
Mm.
and there's for me, I think it's about, yes, you can have the accreditation, but how well can you actually deliver it? So yeah, I really like what you said there, because I know you are accredited and obviously a very good facilitator, but not everyone has those two together.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that I had a bit of a um, conversation with a CEO who was requesting someone with HR experience. They needed sort of 20 years HR experience or something like that. It was ridiculous. And I sort of said to him that, if you're recruiting for a brain surgeon, then I would imagine that level of experience will be a bit more important, because there's, you know, the whole, they've done 1,000 operations, they've got some data behind them. But you know what, I think people are fooled into, you must have that. And this is where some of the imposter syndrome probably plays out, where people feel that, and I've been there. I feel like I need to have this to back me up to, and I get all that, but actually, you're 100% right. Or it's the actions you take, what you do, the evidence, the case studies that you can share where you've had added value and impact. Theory doesn't, and when it comes to people, theory is irrelevant anyway. I mean, yeah, you've got to make sure you're following the law when it comes to HR and all that sort of stuff. But everyone's different, so,
yeah,
so
exactly.
you
And
know.
I can't remember the last time I used, the theory that I did at my level 7 in HR
I
either.
know, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And the whole thing which I go on about is, best practice gets you nowhere. It's unique practice that drives that level of competitive advantage and difference and what have you. And so, the one best way to write a people strategy just really doesn't wash. The textbooks might say you must follow this approach, but yeah, there's lots of alternative ways, I think.
Yeah, that's a great insight. I love that to kind of finish on. I know you've recommended a book, which was, great. We always ask for another book recommendation at the end. So, was there anything else you want to recommend, or?
Yeah, well, the one book which really related to play, and it's the whole science behind play and the brain science as well, is a really good book. It's literally called Play, and it's by Stuart Brown, and it's a worthwhile book. One of the favorite bits of insights from it is, bears that play longer live longer. it talks, it looks at very much at the animal kingdom and humans, and how play just creates this safe space to practice hunting, to practice the rough and tumble, to understand others' feelings and what have you, and so incorporating play in any for and in any way you possibly can in work definitely pays dividends.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I'm just thinking as you're saying that when you're talking about the animal kingdom, I've got a Springer who's absolutely bonkers, and and every day about 4 o'clock he just goes round the house like in circles
Yeah,
and wants to play. And I think
yeah,
that's
love it.
exactly it. It's that the animals do they demand play, don't they? So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
it's something that we should
awesome.
all think about.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much, Matt. And where can people find out about you and Promethean Play? And we'll share some links in the notes as well. But
Yeah, on LinkedIn, either my personal LinkedIn account or the Promethean Play LinkedIn account. Although I'm not very active, I have to say, must get better. Note to self: must hire a marketing guru. And my website is www.prometheanplay.co.uk. So
fantastic. Yeah, lovely. And as I say, we'll show that we'll put those in the show notes as well. So yeah, so thank you so much for joining me today,
thank
Matt. And
you,
it's been a great conversation.
thanks, Laura.
Right. It should.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. We rely heavily on word of mouth, so if you found value in this episode, please hit subscribe and share it with family and friends. If you'd like to find out a bit more about us, you can find us on our Facebook group, Pair Entrepreneurs Club, or alternatively on Instagram, PairEntrepreneurs_club. We hope you have a great week and we look forward to talking to you next time.